Hey there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Christine Kugler and I'm currently a professional dancer on board Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than my usual sit-down videos because I want to talk about the mental shifts that you have to make once you start living on a cruise ship. This is the first time I make a video about this, but I do just kind of want to share some things that I never even knew before I stepped foot on a cruise ship and what it takes to really live on a ship. I'm going to be very honest and transparent in this video about how living on a ship can really affect your mental health, and I'm also going to give some solutions and some things that I personally do to romanticize and embrace living on a ship. Personally, I've never really seen that many resources explaining what ship life is really like. That's a reason I love my channel, is because I get to share a glimpse of that to the world and whoever subscribes to my channel. Especially as a crew member, you're not really sure what you sign up for when you leave home for 10 to 12 months at a time. Just a little disclaimer, I'm going to speak directly from my own observations and experiences while living on a ship. I know everybody's jobs are different, so many people live different lives on this ship, but I'm going to speak from my past 2 contracts working for Royal Caribbean and living as a professional dancer performing on a ship. So living on a cruise ship is not the most common career in the world, especially explaining to family and friends back home that you're about to leave for 10 months. Traveling the world on a giant moving rocking vessel. It's not a huge conversation to pursue cruise ship dancing in the States, at least in my own observations, because a lot of people who want to pursue a professional route usually move to LA or New York. If you guys know me, you know I love cruising, and I've loved cruising since I was a kid, and I've always wanted to be a cruise ship dancer, so I kind of knew that this was a route that I really wanted to pursue when I was older. But with that being said, I did not know anyone personally who could tell me what ship life was like and what I could expect. Something we all really need to focus on is the balance between work, your personal life, and the artistic creative side of us dancers. And this is kind of hard to explain unless you've lived it, but societal rules on land are completely different than those on a ship. Relationships and friendships that you make on board have such different rules than they do on land. Some of the absolute biggest challenges of friendships and relationships on board are factors that you don't even have to consider when you are living on land. Being a professional dancer as well comes with a lot of challenges and responsibilities. You need to be aware of your body, you need to stay fit, stay healthy, and make sure you can have a longevity in this career. Not only just in cruise ships, but in the dance industry, it's really important that you keep your health as your number one. Mentally, physically, this job is extremely hard, and as we all know, this is not a job you can do your entire life. There's kind of a cap on it, so you have to really take advantage of it as much as you can while you have the opportunity to do it. I'm really going to dive in and go into depth about a lot of these topics in today's video, and if you ever want to work on a cruise ship or you're just curious about ship life, I hope that you learned something new from this video, and hopefully I can give you some tips on how to really embrace and romanticize your life on a cruise ship. I would also like to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is BetterHelp, and I will get more into that later on in the video. The first thing I'm going to talk about is mental health on ships. The first thing I want to say is that ship life is not for everyone. Now, that is not a dig at anyone. It's not saying anyone's better or worse because they can live on a ship or not. I just think everyone is wired differently. We all come from such different backgrounds, and I really do think adapting to ships is so difficult and different than normal life that some people just may not be wired to do it. I have some friends who have openly admitted to me that no matter how much they were getting paid, there is no chance they could fit their life to live in a little cabin and into 2 suitcases for an entire year. I mean, a cruise ship is just a different world. If you've ever cruised as a guest, you probably feel the same way. It's like you take a week off from normal life because you get to escape on the cruise ship, but imagine living here for a year at a time, coming up with a routine, making sure you're staying fit, making sure you're still healthy. It can really take a toll on your body. And that's why I always say I encourage anybody to try ship life, at least for a contract. I think it is the most amazing experience if you ever get the chance to, but it's also extremely valid to admit that this life is not for everybody. My career comes with a very unstable life, and that is very easy to admit. For reference, my last contract was 11.5 months. My current contract is 10 months, and so you know exactly what you're going to be doing and signing up for when you sign a contract for 10 months, which can be really assuring at the time because you have a plan for the next 10 months. But what's going to happen after. We're never guaranteed a next contract, you're never guaranteed the next ship you're going to go on, and when you sign off, take it from first-hand experience, you might have absolutely no plan once you leave the ship. There are potentials that you could be offered a contract before you leave the ship, but that means that the rehearsal times are going to start within usually the next 2 months, which means you would have no break at home. That is the whole balance of what comes next, because for me personally, I wanted a break at home, and so for me to have a break at home means that I needed to leave my last ship contract without my next contract. I don't know if anyone else relates to the post-grad stress of when you graduate college and you don't know what you want to do with your life and what career you want to stick to for the rest of your life, and I feel like that really triggers at the end of a contract because you really don't know what you're doing next, and you can completely 180 flip your life after the contract. But when you finish this contract, you are not required or expected to sign another one. You can even work for another cruise line if you want to. Like, there is nothing that really ties me down to Royal Caribbean besides my 10-month contract. Now, I never know where life is gonna go, but for me personally, I love working for Royal, and I see myself working for Royal Caribbean for as long as I can. But it is really scary to think we're only hired really for a certain amount of time. You can have a long break at home. You could also have the potential of not being rehired. You just literally never know, and it's a really scary gambling game, and that does a lot to your mental health as a dancer and also just as someone who wants to work and have a career in their field. Something else that's really difficult to comprehend once you're living on a ship is that life moves on back home. Like I said before, when you live on a ship, you feel like you're in a bubble and this is the entire world, but really back home, there's still birthdays, anniversaries, babies are being born, my friends are getting married, and those are such big life events that I'm not there for, and I know that for that reason alone is something that stops a lot of people from doing ship life because they have to miss a lot of milestones. For reference, my last contract, one of my best friends told me that she was pregnant, and by the time I got home, her baby was already 3 months old. So there is just so much that can happen while we were on a ship, and we feel like we're in a bubble, but really life is going on back home, and that can be really hard to adjust to, especially after the contract when you go home. The absolute hardest hit for me is the kids that I nanny and teach dance to back home, because they are just little kids and they're growing and they're going to school and they're having little life milestones happen to them that I can't be there for. Their first days of school, their first t-ball games that I'm not there for, and the time difference is so hard to speak to them. And in their kids' brains, all they understand is that I'm living on a boat somewhere really far away and they don't know when I'm coming back. So that's just like the hardest part for me personally about ships, is I miss my little kiddos so much. Another really tricky thing that affects my mental health personally is that I can't really plan my life too far in advance. Maybe that's just anyone in their 20-somethings, but I could not tell you what is going on this time next year. I have a million different ideas of what I want to do, but I have no idea what ship I'll be on, if I still want to do ships, maybe I'm living somewhere else. These are things that you just can't really plan. It's honestly really hard for me not to overthink that, because personally I am an organized planner and I'd love to know what I'm doing a year from now, but I cannot even give you a solid plan. That's just another aspect of this unstable lifestyle, that we don't really know what opportunities are going to be ahead of us. So those are a few factors that affect my mental health personally while living on ships. The next thing I'm going to talk about is relationships and friendships on board. Now, I'm going to be so honest, dating on ships is completely different than dating someone on land. I always say that when you date on a ship, you're either living with the person 24/7, seeing them every day, or you're doing long distance. There's no in between. Here on a ship, if you start dating someone, it's kind of all day every day because they're around you all the time. You literally live in the same place. Oh, if you were in the same department, or if you or your partner signs off, or you're dating someone back home, then you're doing long distance. So it's literally either all or nothing. I know that's really crazy to say, but just imagine trying to slowly get to know someone, but they're in your department and you see them every single day and live next door to them for 10 months at a time. Honestly, it's something I can't really speak that much on. I haven't dated on the ship. I'm just gonna say it, sometimes it's better to sit back and observe than to participate. Also, absolute last thing I'm gonna say about it is, like I said before, the norms on land are completely different than society norms on ships, and a lot of things slide when you're on a ship, and cheating is a norm, and that is a huge reason why I don't want to date on a ship. So take that as you will. That is just the truth. Another thing is making friendships. The friends that I make on board this ship are so amazing. Everyone is from different parts of the world. Everyone comes from different backgrounds. The stories I've learned of people's lives are just incredible. And then especially my cast, that we all get so close to each other through rehearsals and throughout the entire contract. The truth of that is that you live with people every single day. You do the same job with them. You are with them all the time. Of course drama is gonna happen. Of course friendship groups are gonna split up. Like, these things are just normal society human things. Emotions just get heightened so quickly, and there's no time to compartmentalize your emotions and really think and sit with it before you confront someone. Like, things just happen really fast around here. Another thing about ships that you would just kind of know if you ever lived it is that a ship day is like a month. So much happens in a day, and one cruise, which could be like a week for example, that's like 2 months. Since ship life feels like a bubble, you either feel isolated or kind of consumed by friends and relationships. To be honest, my last contract, I went through a bit of a struggle of something that was happening back home in my personal life, and trying to separate that from my life on the ship was very challenging. It was something that I knew I couldn't do by myself, and I needed to reach out to a therapist that could help me. That is why I'm so excited that the sponsor of today's video is BetterHelp, because there is nothing that helped me more than an unbiased opinion at a very critical time in my life. I'm a huge advocate for therapy in strengthening my mental health as well as keeping up with my physical health. Therapy has really helped me reach out to someone who gives me unbiased advice and helps me clear the fogginess of living in this ship life bubble. Full transparency, my last contract, I went through a breakup with my long distance boyfriend at the time, and being in a whole different time zone than him as well as my family back home was so difficult. It felt so isolating to go through that, and I didn't even know where to begin healing from the entire situation. I did reach out to a therapist at this time because I needed healthy coping mechanisms, and also I needed to talk to someone who had an unbiased opinion on the problems that I was facing. At home, you have the choice to kind of distance yourself and have the time and space to deal with the situation, but for me personally, I felt a bit consumed and trapped when I was on the ship during that time. When you're going through something in your personal life, it can affect so many factors around you, and I did not want that to happen. And I also wanted to continue being grateful for the opportunity that I was given to be on that ship and be traveling to the places I was going to. That is why BetterHelp was such an amazing resource during this time, because I was able to have access to a licensed therapist when I needed them most. To get started on BetterHelp, you first answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or computer via phone call, video chat, or messaging. You'll be matched to a licensed therapist usually within 48 hours, so you could get started as fast as you'd like. BetterHelp was so helpful for me because since I was in a different time zone, I still had access to a licensed therapist. And no worries if you feel like your therapist is not a perfect match, you can always change and find someone who best suits your mental health needs. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. You can visit betterhelp.com/Kristine Kugler or choose Kristine Kugler once you sign up to get a special discount on your first month on BetterHelp. I'm so thankful that BetterHelp is sponsoring today's video. It is actually a resource that I have used and I really recommend, so make sure you click that link in my description. The next thing I'm going to talk about is being a dancer on a ship and staying in shape. As a dancer, it's obviously very important to keep up with your fitness, keep up with your stamina, and just make sure you stay fit. The very blunt truth of it is that we got hired for our looks, and we need to maintain our looks throughout the entire contract. If there's any drastic change that you want to make, for example, if I just wanted to completely bleach my hair, I have to contact the office and get approval to do those things. So it is just the thought of you are hired for how you look and you need to maintain the way you look. That is the honest truth of being a professional dancer in the dance industry. That is not something that is specific to cruise ships. That is just the life that we live in this career. Regardless of being a performer on ships, it's very important for anyone who wants to get into the dance industry to have a high self-confidence of yourself before you walk into the industry. It's no secret that the dance world is brutal. It's very tough to get into. People are going to try to tear down who you are. They're going to try to tear down your value, and as long as you have a strong, confident opinion of yourself, no one's gonna drag you down. It's very hard to get to this mindset, but it is a very important mindset to walk into auditions knowing if I get this job, it's because I'm meant to be in this job, and if I don't, it's because I'm not meant to. If I'm being completely honest, Royal was not the first company that I wanted to work for when I was younger, but now that I'm in the company, I feel like I'm most valued when I'm here. This is where I'm meant to be because this is where they see my value. I am a tall girl and I've gotten turned away from things because I'm a tall girl, but Royal really loves that I'm a tall girl, and especially the shows that I've been casted in, I feel like I'm really able to reach my potential in who I am as a dancer, so that is where I personally feel like I'm meant to be. There's so many jobs out there that I am not meant for that other people are absolutely meant for. And I know all of this is easier said than done, but that is just the life of a dancer. Now, where the challenge comes into with ship life is that the food options are so limited on board. We're not able to cook what we want. We can buy a few snacks and stuff like that, but if it's not on the mess matrix, then you're probably not gonna be able to eat it. And if they do have it, it's probably not. I told you this was gonna be an honest video. I know every ship is different, every company is different, but personally I have been struggling a lot this contract. Like, I am not gonna lie, most of my meals are ramen noodles. For me personally, I feel like I've been eating the same food for about a year and a half. I feel like I have limited options. It's not the best quality. I know I'm American, so I can't really speak on food quality because we have the worst food quality literally of any country probably ever, but that is actually something I'm actively working on, is trying to come up with either snacks I can make in my cabin or certain things that I can really depend on if it's a bad night at the mess. As dancers, like, our food is our fuel, and especially for shows, like, the only way I can get through a 2-show night is if I fuel my body with good food, so that's been kind of difficult for me lately. I just, like, am not happy with my meals. That is so honest, and I've never really said that, but yeah, that's true. It's also a struggle to find the time to still work on your creative outlet as a dancer and finding time to improv. My favorite thing to do is to go to the gym late at night because there's not usually anyone there, and I have the whole floor space where I can improv a bit. Especially when we get so in the routine of doing these choreographed shows, I think it's so important that we still need to remember that dance is our outlet and we can still be creative with it. Also, just making sure that you balance your food and fitness and make sure you're going to the gym, staying fit, and having the stamina to continue doing these shows and hopefully a long career as well. I'm going to talk about more ways that I am learning to embrace and romanticize my life while living on a cruise ship. A huge tip that I give for anybody living on a ship is to give yourself grace, especially as a professional dancer. Like I said, we are our own biggest critics. Whether it's falling off of a routine that you have established when you're back home, or maybe going through new problems that you've never really had to go through before, I think it's just so important to give yourself grace because this life is so different. A lot of people can't do it, so give yourself a pat on the back for being here and being able to do this job. I think that sometimes we just need to take a second to take a deep breath and pat ourselves on the back for even living in this atmosphere. It's a very, very hard lifestyle, and we're here doing it. Some other things that I use to really romanticize my life on a ship is journaling. I love to journal about my experiences and especially my favorite and best days on board. When you're having a rough day, it's easy to just start spiraling and going on thinking about how you want to go home and all the things you're missing. But I think journaling really helps me bring out the positives in ship life, and I'm able to reflect and have so many memories with my friends. And documenting that on a journal has really helped me on the hard days. I look back and realize all the things that I've accomplished and the amount of things I've been able to check off my bucket list through this job. One of my biggest tips for people living on ships is to find time to be alone, because we are so consumed with all these amazing and beautiful friendships around us that I think it's so important that you need to still reflect and spend time on yourself. It's so easy to do everything with someone, especially when you have a roommate. It's like you don't get time apart, but I've been finding that when I spend time apart, I'm able to be a better friend to those around me, and therefore we have so many more amazing experiences together because I'm able to reset on my own before I bring my energy into a friendship. Something else I find that really helps me is to find activities that quiet my mind. This morning, Eve and LJ and I just went to the cafe and started building a puzzle. We didn't finish the puzzle. It was like a 1,000-piece puzzle. Honestly, doing that just kind of shut off our minds. Some of my friends like to crochet and knit. I like to read. I also like to edit my videos. But yeah, I just think it's really important to find activities that make you forget that you're living on a ship for a little bit. Something else that really helps me is maintaining my fitness. I feel like every time I drop off my fitness, I feel like I'm out of routine. I think also because we get into the routine of doing these huge, very tiring production shows that I feel like sometimes I don't need to go to the gym, but I feel like every time I go work out on my own time that is not scheduled in my job, my endorphins get kicked in. I feel so much better about myself. It raises my confidence and I feel like a normal human, and I have really enjoyed doing that. I feel like just in general in life, when you work on your fitness, you kind of can prove to yourself that you develop your own strength, and it helps your physical and mental health. So I think that is a very important factor to maintain when we're living on ships. And last but not least, my biggest tip and the most amazing part about ship life, in my opinion, is getting to absorb the places that we are traveling to. I like to believe I've always been a very grateful person. I'm grateful for every opportunity I have, but especially living on a ship, you're able to travel. You could have a dance job where you're staying in one place and you stay at that one place for months and months at a time, but we are lucky enough that we are on a moving vessel that changes itineraries, and we have the possibility to go on ships that travel all over the world. Even if you've been to a port 5,000 times, you can always find something new to do. This is such an unconventional job, and as I said before, there's a lot of negatives that go along with it. There's a lot of things you need to watch out for, and making sure that you maintain your physical and mental health. But there are some amazing perks to this job. So that's all I have for today's video. Hope I didn't talk your ear off, but hope you learned something new. And if you've never been on a cruise ship before, I hope that you know a little bit of what it's like. And if you have, then maybe I hope you relate to some of the things I said. If you want to add on or have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I want to thank BetterHelp again for sponsoring today's video. I can personally say it is an amazing resource for people who live on ships or live on land. Click the link in my description to get a special discount code on your first month using BetterHelp. If you got to this point of the video, comment down below where you are watching this video from. I'm just curious to see where everyone is in the world. You guys already know what to do. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Click that bell so you're notified every time I make a post. Make sure you follow my Instagram so you stay tuned on where I am in the world. And wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having the very best day. See you soon!